Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present my findings on influenza season. As I'm sure you know, for some people, influenza is a serious illness that can lead to some severe outcomes, including death. Fortunately, many of these severe outcomes can be mitigated by maintaining appropriate levels of hospital staffing. And so the objective of this analysis is to determine how best to allocate our healthcare workers. We need to know where to send additional staff and when to send them. Our staffing agency covers all hospitals in each of the 50 states of the United States, and this analysis is meant to help us plan for the upcoming influenza season. So, first order of business is to figure out when flu season occurs so that we know when to send out our staff. And so I had two questions as I was looking through the data. The first one was whether or not there was a consistent pattern in the flu season from year to year. And the chart on the left answers that question. So what we have here is the number of deaths that occurred in each month of the year, and each of these lines represents a different year. And as you can see, from year to year, there's a pretty consistent pattern. We see a spike in influenza deaths starting in the month of December, and then influenza deaths remain elevated through the month of March. In fact, between the years 2009 to 2017, about 43% of deaths due to influenza occurred in the months December through March. The one anomaly was when we experienced an early flu season in 2009, but that was somewhat unusual in comparison to the remaining years, so it's fairly safe to say that influenza season is going to spike between December and March. The next question is whether or not that trend holds true from state to state. I think it would be a pretty reasonable assumption to think that maybe the northern states experience a longer flu season since they have a longer, colder winter. However, in looking at the data, this turns out not to be true. So if we look at the chart on the right, what we've got is the total number of deaths between 2009 and 2017 and the month in which they occurred, and each of the lines represents a different state. And you can see a pretty consistent trend in flu season from state to state. In fact, if we compare a warm state like California to a colder state like New York, you can see a remarkably similar flu season in those two states. So I think it's fairly safe to say that flu season is going to peak in the months of December, January, February, and March. And this is pretty much true from year to year and from state to state. So we know when we should be sending out our increased staffing. The next question is, where should we send them? What states have the greatest need? So as I was looking through the data, one of the first trends that I was able to discover is that your age is going to play a huge role in whether or not you have a severe outcome due to influenza. So as we can see in this bar chart, individuals aged 65 years or older are at an increased risk of severe outcomes due to influenza. In fact, between the years 2009 and 2017, individuals aged 65 years or older accounted for about 64% of influenza deaths. And as we can see in the scatter plot below the bar chart, as the population aged 65 years or older increases, so too does the number of deaths in a given state and year. And so these facts inform me that we should be allocating our hospital staffing to states with the largest number of individuals aged 65 years or older. So in the map on the right, I've got the population of individuals aged 65 years or older in blue, and the darker the state, the larger its population of individuals aged 65 years or older. And then together with that, I've mapped the number of deaths in that age group. And by looking at those two factors together, we can begin to sort of rank states based on their need. And so as we can see, California is going to be at the highest need. It's got the largest number of individuals aged 65 years or older, and it also has the largest number of deaths in that age group. Other states with high need would be Texas, Pennsylvania, New York, and Texas, and Florida. Those states would all be at an elevated need of medical staffing during influenza season, in comparison to a state like Wyoming, which has relatively few individuals aged 65 years or older and also a small number of deaths due to influenza. So these observations lead us to make the following recommendations. We should send increased medical staff to all hospitals from December to March, but we should place the greatest emphasis on the states California, New York, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Florida, as these are all high-need states, and so they should receive the greatest proportion of increased staffing. So thank you for listening to this analysis, and I'll now take any questions that you may have.